right. Hi, everyone. It is exactly noon here on Wednesday, October 14th for our live lunch lounge. I am Meredith Badler, Deputy Director of the CBCA, Colorado Business Committee for the Arts. And this is one of our live lunch lounge events. We started these programs back in summer 2020 as a way to make sure the arts were staying top of mind, accessible for all of our members and the community at large. We all at this time sometimes need a break from our day, sometimes need to engage with something uplifting or stimulating or exciting for our own mental wellness. So that's what started these live lunch lounge events. Half an hour, something virtual and cultural to fill your soul as our members. So we are really excited for today's presentation and the ability to record it as well here through Zoom in partnership with Motus Theater. And they have an incredible program planned, and we're gonna get it all in the next half an hour. So I will just turn it right over to Tanya, who will introduce our performers and presenters and the amazing work of Motus Theater. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you to the generous support of the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts and Motus supporters who made this event possible. I know we are all in different places due to COVID-19, probably all in your homes, but we want to recognize that all of us in Colorado are on the ancestral land of the Arapaho, Ute, and Cheyenne. Again, welcome. My name is Tanya Chaitas. I'm an undocumented immigrant, a monologist in Motus's UndocuAmerica series, and the National Outreach and Education Director for Motus Theater, where we create original theater to facilitate dialogue on critical issues of our time. We use the power of art to build alliances across diverse segments of our community. And one of our strategies to strengthen our community and our country is to present allied performances called Shoebox Stories Live, where we ask people, often in positions of public leadership in our communities, to stand in the shoes of an undocumented person from Motus's UndocuAmerica series, or a formerly incarcerated person from our Just Us series, and read their story aloud. The readers don't need to agree with everything they read in the story. They just need to be willing to suspend judgment, model courageous empathy, and see the world for a moment through someone else's eyes. Today, we are honored to have Laurence Kaptain, Dean of the College of Arts and Media at CU Denver and CBCA board member, step into the shoes of Cristian Solano-Córdova, an undocumented monologist from our UndocuAmerica series. So welcome, Larry and Cristian. Can you both introduce yourself by saying a few words about who you are?
Yeah. Cristian?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Cristian Solano-Córdova, and I am the Communications Director at the National Partnership for New Americans. I formerly used to work at the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, through which I got involved with this project, and I'm super happy to be here today, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm Larry Kaptain, Dean of the College of Arts and Media. It's one of 7 colleges at the downtown campus of CU Denver. We have 1,300 students, and I appreciate very much this invitation to do this reading today. Some folks might not know I'm a former Fulbright scholar to Mexico, and that's where I did my dissertation research while I was a doctoral student at the University of Michigan. So this topic's very, very close to me personally and professionally.
Thank you both. Before we go straight into the story, we're actually going to invite Motus musician Elisa Garcia, who will sing a few verses of Motus Shoebox Stories theme song. And we offer this music to you, as well as the piece she will play after the reading, as restorative medicine. So we hope when she sings, you will know she is singing directly for each of you. And now, Elisa Garcia.
Thank you. If you could just for a moment Take a walk in my shoes. Feel the weight of my burden. See the world as I do. Maybe then we'll find a way to live a life where each can say, I respect who you are. Take a moment to refrain from any judgment and my pain and hold my story for a while. Si puedes por un momento caminar mi camino, sentir el peso de mi carga y ver el mundo como yo. Así vamos a encontrar la manera de hablar y decir yo te respeto. Toma un momento sin rencor, sin todo el juicio y el dolor. Ten mi historia por un tiempo. If you could just for a moment take a walk in my shoes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now everyone sit back and listen to Larry as he reads aloud Cristian's story from Motus's UndocuAmerica series.
When I was my sister's age, 10 years old this year, I didn't have many worries. It's funny because my baby sister, Denayi, is an American citizen, so it should be easier for her, but it's not. It's not right now because the people she loves most, my mom, our other sister, Beba, and I are all undocumented. When we are threatened, she is threatened. My baby sister is forced to bear the burden of attacks on immigrants under the current administration. I remember election night 2016, my mom and I were in complete shock, trying to absorb what had just happened to the country, trying to strategize about how to handle certain possibilities. I remember frantically Googling what happens to a US citizen child if an undocumented parent is deported. My dad died young, so I needed to assure myself that if my mom was deported, I could get custody of Denayi, who at the time was only 8. But then, of course, what would happen if Beba and I were both deported? My mom and I totally lost track of time during our election night panic. So when hours later, I came downstairs, I was surprised to find my baby sister, Denayi, wide awake, sitting in a corner by herself, crying, red-faced, with puffy eyes. With my dad gone, I've always had to be the big brother, or rather father figure, since my mom was always working. I helped Denayi with her homework. We read each other bedtime stories, play games. I answer those unanswerable kinds of kid questions and comfort her when she is scared. But I'm not used to trying to comfort her when in reality, I needed so much comforting myself. I remember tilting her chin, glistening with streams of tears, looking towards me, looking into those deep brown eyes and trying my best to give her soothing answers to her questions and just repeating, "Don't cry, baby, don't cry. It's going to be okay, I promise. It's going to be okay. Listen, why would you be deported? Do you even know what that word means? You shouldn't have to. Listen to me, you're an American citizen. You will never be deported. You're right, I'm not a citizen, but I've got DACA. They can't deport me. I know my mom doesn't, but mom is gonna be okay. She has lived here for decades. She's not going anywhere. Baby, don't cry, please. I promise whatever happens, we'll be together, always. I'll be there to put Band-Aids on your scraped knees. I'll be there to help you with your school projects. Yes, we're going to finish reading Harry Potter together, and I'll be by your side when you need help applying for college. I'll be there for you when you fall in love for your first time, when your heart is broken. I'll walk you down the aisle one day. It really doesn't matter where we'll be as long as we're together. And yes, of course, the puppy is coming with us if we go. Lulu is part of this family too. I'll have you know. Yeah, that's the dimply smile I like to see. It's going to be okay. At least that's what I told her. I did my best to offer her what I wanted to hear, what I wanted to believe for both her and our entire family. Because how do you talk to a child without being taken away from their parent or siblings, without terrorizing them, without stripping them of their innocence? With each day of this administration, the increased deportations of parents like my mom, the attempts to end the DACA program that protects me and my sister Beba, the willingness to end rules that limit how long children can be detained, even threats to strip children like deny ye of their citizenship. And all the mounting threats, it increasingly feels cruel to offer my little sister a fairy tale when she might need great strength to overcome great threats. So tonight I offer her and you another story. This story won't kiss it and make it all better, but I'm hoping it will help us stay strong regardless of the challenges we might face. I was 3 years old and my sister Beba was just 1 when we crossed the border with my mom. We walked together with a group of people, maybe 10 to 15 across the desert. We walked for hours and hours at night. I remember we were out in the middle of nowhere following a dim silver light in the distance. I imagined we followed it because it meant we're going the right way, some shining city in the distance. We finally got to a raised road lined with street lamps. To avoid walking over the road that night and potentially being seen, we crossed through a drainage tunnel under the road. Mom had me walk through the tunnel in front of her, and she crawled behind with my sister in her shawl. Beba and I were wearing those little kids' light-up shoes that everyone was going crazy over that year. Mom had saved up a lot of money to buy them because we were going to be seeing our dad after a year of him being in the US on his own. And she wanted us to look our best. The shoes were actually super helpful in the drainage tunnel to light the way for Mom and all the people crawling through on their hands and knees. But of course, in the dead of night, they were a dead giveaway. When we were finally able to see the moonlight at the end of the tunnel and catch a whiff of fresh air, the coyotes urgently requested that Mom take off my shoes. "There's a Border Patrol car outside," he whispered. The drainage tunnel emptied out right next to a gas station where the Border Patrol car was parked. The officers were inside, we assumed, so we waited for a while, hoping they would return to their car and drive away, but no one was coming out. For some reason, the coyotes grew impatient and abruptly told everyone to move. In the chaos, everyone immediately scrambled, crawling behind tall grass on their hands and knees as the coyotes gave us voiceless commands with their fingers on their lips and pointing to the ground. But the ground was covered in cactus thorns and prickles, and I didn't have any shoes. While everyone crawled, my mom stood up carrying both Beba and me in her arms, and she just started walking. At first, I thought she was giving up because we would surely be seen. Everyone else was still crawling on the ground, but she stood up tall and walked with a defiant pep in her step, as if she belonged right there where she stood. That's when I realized she hadn't given up. She just had faith that walking quickly and quietly was her best strategy to protect us. She was resolved that somehow, somewhere, we would be okay and that we would find a home where our family could thrive. I've never forgotten the look on my mom's face as she walked down the street and out into the dark of an unknown country. That is when I first learned that the real meaning of courage is not to pretend to be immune from fear, but rather to calmly and steadily take action in spite of it. Our current president might caricature my little 3-year-old self as a diseased toddler, criminal, murderer, rapist, gang member in the making. He might try to scare people who don't know undocumented immigrants into thinking that a mother carrying her children to safety is nothing less than an invasion. But Beba and I grew up beloved by our friends and neighbors and are strong members of our communities. We both went to college. I even became the student body president of my university. I'm not part of some invading army fighting against America, but like many of you, I'm fighting for the American ideals I think we can live up to. He may want to take away my baby sister's right to citizenship, but I remain hopeful that maybe Denani or some other young woman might be our future president and help lead us to a future where we all live up to our ideals and truly have liberty and justice for all. But that's going to take a lot of hard work, and not just on my part or just on the part of the immigrant community, but hard work on your part too. As Anne Frank once wrote in her famous diary, how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world.
Thank you, Larry. While you listen to Elisa Garcia sing her musical response to Cristian's story, please share a few thoughts in the Zoom chat about what most impacted you as you heard Larry read aloud Cristian's story.
Thank you, Tanya, and I wanted to thank Cristian for his story, sharing something so personal, Larry for stepping into his shoes and reading it, and I wanted to offer a musical response to the story in honor of Cristian's mother and all of her struggles and the struggles of many undocumented immigrants. And this song is from Argentina, and it focuses on mothers and women in general and the day-to-day struggles that they go through and the day-to-day work that they go through that often goes unnoticed and unrecognized. It's called Las manos de mi madre, my mother's hands. Las manos de mi madre parecen pájaros en el aire, historias de cocina entre sus alas heridas de hambre. Las manos de mi madre saben qué ocurre por las mañanas cuando amasa la vida hornos de barro, pan de esperanza. Las manos de mi madre llegan al patio desde temprano. Todo se vuelve fiesta cuando ellas vuelan junto a otros pájaros que aman la vida y la construyen con el trabajo. Arde la leña, harina y barro. Lo cotidiano se vuelve mágico. Se vuelve mágico. Las manos de mi madre me representan un cielo abierto y un recuerdo añorado, trapos calientes en los inviernos. Ellas se brindan cálidas, nobles, sinceras, limpias de todo. gracias al odio. Las manos de mi madre llegan al patio desde temprano. Todo se vuelve fiesta cuando ellas vuelan junto a otros pájaros que aman la vida y la construyen con el trabajo. Arde la leña, harina y barro. Lo cotidiano se vuelve mágico. Se vuelve mágico. Se vuelve mágico. Se vuelve mágico.
Thank you, Elisa.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to turn to Larry. Could you tell us what most impacted you about reading Cristian's story?
Well, I think the totality of the stress that people are under, and the fact that this has been a very big change of course for our country, which has been built upon differences and built upon immigrants who have come, and we've had this feeling that we're all immigrants in a way, but that people being singled out most recently, how unfair that seems, how damaging it seems to be for the soul and character of our country, but also something very stressful that people are living under. And I think Cristian projected that real well in his story.
Thank you, Larry. And Cristian, what most impacted you about having Larry read your story aloud today?
Well, it's been 4 years since the last election, and I am kind of dreading election day. But, looking back at that time, like my sister's 4 years older, 4 years wiser, and I feel, she's just a lot stronger of a person. It made me reflect on where my family is now. And though, there's still so much uncertainty, like, weighing down on us, like, my sister's still doing her school thing and my mom's still going to work. And what impacted me was like the resiliency in our family and families living this across the country, right? Because it's not just my family where these conversations are happening. I'm sure, Tanya, you're having these conversations in your family, and it's millions of people in this situation. And just, we keep on keeping on, right? Like, we go to work every morning, we go to school every morning, and that resiliency of my own family and the community is what keeps me going, working, for a better tomorrow for immigrants and refugees. So that's kind of what I got out of it. And thank you so much, Larry. It's always nice to hear someone else read it back to me, and just hear kind of where different people put different stresses in the story. It gives me, every single time it gives me just a different perspective on this story that Kirsten and I worked on for so long. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Honor. It's an honor.
Thank you both for your answers. And I also want to highlight some of the impacts that our audience felt from what they put in the chat. So Meredith shared that it was impactful to hear about the image of those light up kids' sneakers in the drainage tunnels. Such a powerful image. Transporting myself to that 3-year-old child and the fear and confusion he must have felt, yet he was inspired by the courage and resilience of his mother. We also need that hope and courage and resilience to inspire our lives. And of course, people shouting out Elisa for sharing your gift of song. Others said how hard it must be to have to continually prove that you belong in a country that you grew up in or were even born in. Powerful story. And thank you for providing this moment of deep listening and reflection. Very powerful telling. So thank you for those of you who shared in the chat how this impacted you. We have just a few minutes to close out, and I would like to see if either Larry or Cristian have any final words that you'd like to share with each other before you go off to the rest of your day.
Ooh. Yeah, you know, I think one of the keys to normalcy is going to be education, and I think, you know, Cristian has taken the role of an educator in sharing this story that's gives people so much to consider and real things to hang on to rather than just a headline or a picture of an ICE raid or something. The depth of this story, and I think his personal take on things as a very talented and keen observer is going to help educate others so that we can climb out of this difficulty that we're in right now as a country.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, it's you know, the last couple of weeks before the election, and this burden is just getting heavier on immigrants in our communities and refugees. You know, Tanya also has a monologue, and it's very powerful, and she talks about just being so tired of being tired of having to fight for every little inch just to, like, you know, be happy and have a life. So, you know, I wanted to challenge you, those of you watching, you know, ease our burden a little bit. Make sure you vote. Make sure you talk to your family about voting. You know, this story, I wrote it, but it's yours. It's yours to share with anybody you want. It's in podcast form. There's videos online. Please share it. Share it with your family. Share it with your neighbors. And get registered to vote. Get your family registered to vote. Get your neighbors registered to vote. You know, it just becomes so tiresome and burdensome for us to continually remind people, like U.S. citizens, that it's your responsibility as a U.S. citizen to cast that vote and decide the future for our country. And too many people in this country don't live up to that responsibility. And you know, if everybody did vote, I don't think we would be in this position. So please ease our burden a little bit and make sure you vote and you get your family and friends to vote too.
Thank you, Cristian. And a reminder to everyone that the deadline in Colorado to register to vote is October 26th. On behalf of Motus Theater, we want to again thank our Motus monologist, Cristian, our reader who stood in his shoes, Dean Larry Kaptain, and Motus's powerful contributing artists, including Motus Theater's artistic director, Kirsten Wilson, and singer Elisa Garcia. In the chat, you'll find the opportunity to donate to Motus Theater's UndocuAmerica project. And if you were moved by Cristian's story, I hope you will share his story. In a few days, you will also receive a link to this performance so you can share it with others as widely as possible. Please visit our website so you can find out how to share these stories further, as well as to find more information about our podcasts called Shoebox Stories and Motus Monologues. That's it for us today. Goodbye and thank you all. This ends our program, and we really appreciate you spending a bit of your afternoon with us and expressing civic hospitality by listening deeply to the experience of an undocumented person. So with heart and gratitude, I hope you'll have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you, Motus, for joining us. We do have one more live lunch lounge coming up at the end of October, which will be a dance class, something totally different, and CBCA's 35th anniversary celebration on every Thursday evening in the month of November. So I hope you take this moment of reflection and consideration and inspiration with you for the rest of your day, and as you go to the ballot box this fall. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.